Hey guys, it's Queen Osset Haru, and I'm coming to you today with another exciting edition of Ask an Aquarius. So if you haven't already, please hit the subscribe button, the red button, and smack the bell so that whenever I do another video, you'll get a notification. Likewise, if you know anybody who will benefit from these videos, please pass them on. That's why I do them. Okay? Thank you. So now I'm going to talk to you guys about today's topic. Today's topic is sexual abuse. I did a series about abuse. I've done physical abuse. I've done emotional and mental abuse before, a couple days before. So if anybody's interested, you can go back and watch the old videos. So this one will specifically cover sexual abuse. So sexual abuse is exactly what it sounds like. It's whenever you're being abused by somebody sexually. Typically, this happens with anyone. It can be a man, a woman, or child. We see a lot of sexual abuse reported mostly from women and children, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen to men. According to statistics, men are actually less likely to report it or even talk about it. So it happens in a number of different situations, a number of different countries, a number of different socio-economic, levels. It's something that goes on a lot. It could be rape. It could be coercion, such as, somebody talking you into having sex with them or bothering you about having sex with them or only promising to do certain things if you have sex with them. For example, like a husband saying that he'll only, pay the light bill if you have sex with him that night. If not, he's going to let it get turned off, which I have seen happen before. Things along those lines. It can also be something as horrendous as your husband or your wife making you have sex with people you don't want to have sex with. Not just having it when you don't want to, but like bringing people home and making you perform when you don't want to, or things like that. It could mean them, making you prostitute. It could mean them making you have sex with their friends or letting their friends watch them have sex with you when you don't want to. Any of these things in themselves, like if you want to do these things, they're fine. But it becomes sexual abuse when you don't want to and you're forced to, or you're made to feel like if you don't, then something bad will happen to you or to to your family or to another person. Like if you don't give me sex, I'm going to rape your daughter, or I'm going to hit your daughter, or I'm going to harm her, or your son, those kind of things. Some of the times can be problematic. Or like in the case of some of the movies that we've seen, it could be, the husband who wants to sleep with your daughter and tells you that if you want to live the way that you're living, that you have to make it happen. And your daughter could be a child or a woman for that matter, whatever. It's whenever somebody imposes their sexual needs on you in a way that is, quite frankly, criminal and emotionally and mentally abusive as well. So unfortunately, a lot of us go through things like this. Sometimes it's just the boyfriend who never takes no for an answer. Some of the times it's, the wife who, as far as like being like, oh, I'm tired, or I've had a hard day. And then they withhold, favors from you. They don't make you breakfast, or they stop doing the things around the house that they would normally do for you, or things along those lines. Now, some of these things happen in a relationship. Naturally, you're not going to want to sometimes when your partner wants to. But when you're made to, forced to, or coerced to, or made to feel badly because of it, then it can start to go into the areas of sexual abuse. This kind of energy is very popular today because we live in a society now where there's the Me Too movement, and the Me Too movement is a global movement. So lots of people have been exposed for their negative behaviors, and people are like, oh, well, how come all of a sudden all of this is happening? It's not all of a sudden. This has been going on for a very long time. It's just that now people are starting to talk about it and be upfront about it. And that happens a lot. Usually when one person comes forward, then everybody, other people start to come forward. And that can be problematic. For example, in the case of Bill Cosby, in the case of him, it could be problematic because, there's no doubt that Bill Cosby was being inappropriate with those women. There's no doubt that he raped some women. How many women is where the doubt comes in, where the question comes in. Because I was just reading the newspaper the other day, and I had read it a couple weeks ago. Bill Cosby already admitted to buying the drugs. He admitted for getting them for the purpose of drugging somebody up and having sex with them, which is another form of sexual abuse, drugging them up or giving them alcohol or anything like that just to get sex out of them. You know, it's one thing if you guys go have drinks to loosen up, you know, but it's another thing if you sneak some, you know, whatever, I don't even know what it is, whatever the chemical substance is into their water, you know, so you can take advantage of them while they're sleeping or while they're out of it. So Bill Cosby was doing that, you know, he was, you know, doing this, and there's still people like, and I'm like, he admitted to doing it. The problem comes in is that when one person says something, everybody else starts to tell their story too. And some of the people are not telling the truth. Some of them are and some of them aren't. So it becomes very difficult because then people start to think everybody's lying. You know, they're like, oh, them lying. Yeah, some of them could be lying. Like, for instance, Jane Dickinson. Jane Dickinson, I think the other day, somebody said she might have admitted to lying. And I was like, okay, maybe she did. You know, you never know. But the bottom line is that he admitted it. So he did something by his own admission. He did. I don't think he did everything they're accusing him of. You see? So just because, like, that's like if I shoot 20 people, but 25 claim I shot them, you know, I still shot 20 people. You know, if I shoot one person, but 90 claim that I did, I might not be guilty for those other 89 times, but I am guilty for that one. So I got to pay the piper for that one. And you open the door by doing stuff like that. Nobody would have been able to accuse him of anything if he hadn't been doing it in the first place and gotten caught in the first place and opened the door to the floodgates of those who could and could not be telling the truth. You know? So that's extremely problematic. But I say, you know, personally, I think that if somebody is victimized, they should come forward. I do think you should come forward. I know it's not easy a lot of times because look at how you're treated. You're not believed. People, what kills me is that people automatically assume that you're lying when you talk about sexual abuse. If I come to somebody and I say, the guy next door punched me in the head, you know, they're more inclined to believe me than if I say the guy next door raped me. Automatically, people are going to start making judgments about what I'm wearing. They're going to start making judgments about my behavior. They're going to start making judgments about, well, what happened? Where were y'all? They start asking you all these questions that they would not have asked if I said he assaulted me in a different kind of way. You know, if I said he punched me in the head, they would just be like, you know, did you have a dispute? What happened? They would come take a police report. If it's a sexual assault, well, where were you? What were you wearing? What were you doing? Why were you alone with him? They wouldn't ask me all half of those questions if it was a different kind of assault. And also, they wouldn't automatically assume that I was lying. They would assume, you know, that I was probably telling the truth, and they would arrest him, you know. But with sexual assault, people assume that you're lying, and that's what bothers me the most about it. And it really bothers me when it's women. It really does, because deep down inside, you and I both know how many times a man has been inappropriate with us. Come on, even if you're not attractive, you and I both know that men come at you all the time in ways that are not always appropriate. So when a woman automatically assumes that a woman is lying, that tells me that she just doesn't want to deal with the fact that this man could be capable of that. Who wants a man that they respect and admire to have been a pedophile, to have been a rapist? Nobody. Nobody at all. You know, especially we like somebody, we don't want that to be the truth. And then some of the times we're like, well, I never saw that in him. He never tried that with me, you know, or nobody I know. When I was a young girl, one of my friends, her father was molesting everybody. Everybody. Like, when he finally got arrested, he got arrested for, I think, something like 99 counts of molestation. And that was only for a certain time period. It wasn't all of the molestations. Okay? And when it first happened, I was shocked because I knew him. I saw him. He gave me rides all the time. He gave me hugs. He never did anything to me that was inappropriate. Never. And I couldn't understand, but then I was like, I mean, I didn't question it because obviously my friend isn't going to tell me lies about her father, but I just thought it was so crazy that I could be so close to this family and over there every day and not know anything that was going on. And when it all came out, I was like, wow. I couldn't believe it. But the truth of it was that, number one, I'd never spent the night. My mom did not play that spending the night. I didn't play that spending the night shit, to be honest with you. I don't like all that. What do you need to be together all night for? Y'all can see each other tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? It's one thing for a sleepover that's planned and, that kind of thing. But it's another thing. I don't like all that spending the night stuff. And this is why. This is exactly why. And I never was allowed to spend the night there. So, number one. And number two, they said that he targeted victims who were least likely to tell. And I was a very aggressive, assertive, big mouth child. I told everything, So he probably figured that, I was going to tell eventually, So, that was a horrible situation, and it impacted everybody involved, and it's still impacting people to this day. So, like I said before, you don't always know. So you can't say just because I didn't know it wasn't happening. That's not true. Just because you didn't know, this means you just didn't know. You didn't peep. You didn't peep from back deep. But it doesn't mean that it wasn't going on. Okay? And that's what taught me that. So whenever a woman automatically jumps to the defense and is like, oh no, that person didn't do it. If it's a male or a female, that person didn't do it. I'm looking at her like, come on, sis. Like, seriously. Like, what's up. And like, for instance, I'll give you a perfect example. Jill Scott. Jill Scott, when the whole thing happened with Bill Cosby, came out and basically just came out like, oh, they lying, it's not true, da-da-da-da. And later on, in her defense, later on, she came back forward and said, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. So she must have heard something, or read the documentation that's online that other people refuse to read or something. And she realized it and she apologized. She was like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. But my thing was from the beginning, why were you so fast to not believe another woman? Knowing what goes on. We all know what goes on. We may not be honest about it. We may not talk about it, but we as women all know that this kind of thing goes on. Because most of us, I think, 1 in 3 have had it happen to you. And if you haven't had it happen to you, your friends may have said it to you, or you've seen it, or you're aware of it. You're aware that it happens. So if it's a guy or a woman that you like and you decide, oh, it couldn't have happened, then you real screwed up for that. And I felt bad for the victims having to watch TV and see somebody like Jill Scott or somebody like Felicia Rashad or somebody saying, oh, they're lying. I just thought it was really messed up. I thought it was real messed up. And even if you say, I don't believe all of them are telling the truth, that's fine. But to come off like all of these women are lying, even though he admitted it, come on. Y'all, you can read the deposition online. Like, be serious. Then there's R. Kelly. R. Kelly always peeing on people. And, like, people still out there buying his music and supporting him and saying, I don't care. I still love R. Kelly. And I'm just like, yo, he got songs I like too. But he's a pervert. So I'm good. I'm good. He got a couple songs I really like. And ever since that came out, I can't sit and listen to him. It just creeps me out. The whole thing grosses me out. And the only thing I keep thinking about is what if that was my 14, 15, 16-year-old daughter? I'd be trying to burn down his house. You know what I'm saying? I would be on fire behind that. So I just can't do it. So That's sexual abuse. You know, it happens in a number of different ways to a number of different people. I had mentioned earlier that men are least likely to report. A lot of women don't report too, unfortunately, because people will say, oh, they're lying, they're not telling the truth, they're this, they're that. So they don't want to go through that. And then who wants to go through a trial only for your accuser to be found not guilty, you know, because there wasn't enough evidence, because you took a shower or something like that, or your rape kit got lost or something like that. But me personally, if I had that situation, I can't say what I would do at this point in my life. I would like to go and report it though. And the reason why I said that is because by you staying silent, you allow another person, or maybe you, to be victimized. All of the people in my circle when that molestation was going on, they were children, you know? So it's a little bit different with children. It's harder for children to come forward. But because of the silence of it, it allowed more and more people to be molested. If the first one or two or three had said something, then maybe he would have been in jail a lot sooner. You know, and I don't blame them, because again, they were children, you know, they're kids. You know, being molested as a kid is the scariest shit in the world, because it just, you don't know what to do, you know? How do you deal with that, you know? So I can't blame them. They were children, but I do feel like if they had been aware, or if the elders in their life, you know, had been aware, that they would have been able to go to somebody and say something, and maybe it wouldn't have been 99 counts, you know, when he finally got arrested. So I do recommend to adults that if you have that situation, even though it's going to be difficult, even though people might say you're lying, even though the trial might happen and it might be negative, you might be crying, upset, even though all of that is going on, if you are honestly being sexually abused or assaulted, you need to press criminal charges, so that that person, just like with any other kind of abuse, in my opinion, I don't care what kind of abuse it is, if you can press charges, press them, because that's going to stop that person from being able to abuse the next person. Okay, so if you have been sexually abused or assaulted, you really need to really consider, other than just that part, the therapeutic aspect of it, because your person, your body has been violated in one of the most sacred, you know, areas that I can even think of. The yoni is sacred in so many ways. And then for a man, you know, it's your, you know, your body, your private parts. That's why they call them that, because they're sacred to you, you know, and having somebody violate you in those kind of ways can destroy your psyche. So I would strongly suggest, if something has happened to you and you are still struggling with it, that you get some help with it, because it can affect your relationships. It could affect your life. It could affect everything. You know, some people who are sexually assaulted go on to not have children. They go on to not have sex again. You know, some of them go on to be promiscuous and not care about their body. Some of them go on to not love themselves anymore. So many things happen because of it, but all of those things can be dealt with in therapy or something along those lines. And men too, you know, men really need that, because when you're a man, that makes you question a lot of things, you know, your manhood, your sexuality. It can make you question a lot of things, and you really need to get somebody to talk to and get that energy out. You know, whenever you're being victimized, you don't want to just allow it to happen and then not deal with it. You know, you have to deal with that elephant in the room, because it can be very, very problematic. Okay, so if you're being sexually abused or sexually assaulted, please Google it, find out, you know, what are the, you know, who can you call, who can you talk to, where can you report it, you know, and then find yourself some therapy, find yourself some help. Okay. If you know somebody who's being assaulted, please say something. Don't keep these secrets. In the Black community, and probably other communities too that I'm just not aware of, a lot of times we don't do that. We don't tell. And we don't, and like we'll like, hide a person. We'll let them still come around our family. Like, Uncle Roy been touching the boys and you still letting him around the family, like stuff like that. Like, as adults and as people, we need to stop that. If you know somebody's a pedophile or somebody's a rapist or somebody drugs women and takes advantage of them, you need to report it. You need to stop them. You need to do something, say something, And so many of us just don't do anything, or we blame the victims. I've heard young children told that they deserved it or that they asking for it. A 5-year-old was asking for it? Like, people will say things like that. And I'm like, you're disgusting. They're a child, So for those of you who have dealt with this or are dealing with this, there is help for you out there. And if you are a sexual abuser, there's something going on with you other than just, hey, stop doing that. I would say go find out what is causing that, because something in you, either you have repressed memories or conscious memories of being assaulted, or there's something going on with you where you think it's okay to just take advantage of a person like that. Something is very, very wrong. Okay, so this is Queen Osetta Heru, and that is my piece on sexual abuse. And I hope that all of you are taking good care of yourself and being good to each other. Okay, see you later.